at Cincy Sports Scene. All right, moving forward, I know I came in here just a minute ago, and Crawley was just calming everybody down about Joey Votto and stuff. So yeah, our topic of the week is Joey Votto and his legacy for the Cincinnati Reds, 17 years. Those of you that follow the show and you listen to our Hall of Fame broadcast from the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, we had this debate of, who do we think, the next wave of players to go into the Hall of Fame. And Joey Votto, we were talking about that, and I can't remember the consensus, but I think we all said he would probably get in based on the new analytics of baseball. I think that the last couple of years, I don't want to say it tarnishes him, but he was injured. His production was off from where it was, and I don't, do I think he's a Hall of Famer? Yeah, I do. I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I do think he is a Hall of Famer, and definitely would be a Reds Hall of Famer for sure. But it'll be a little different not seeing number 19 out there come opening day, and knowing that he's probably not coming back. Thoughts, Crawley, on well, first of all, thoughts on Votto, his career, his legacy, and then thoughts on the decision that the Reds front office made.
Yeah, I mean, I was mentioning that a little bit when you stepped away there, in terms of the front office decision. I can't disagree with it from the head. The heart gets in the way a little bit sometimes, but from the head, he really wasn't. I mean, some people try to claim that he was so productive because of his home runs, but I mean, Joey Votto is not. I mean, if he's just hitting home runs, I mean, that's not Joey Votto anyway. So, Joey Votto's on a 197 hitter, and hits a home run every whatever at bats, and that's how productive he is. I mean, that's not a starting player to me. I mean, now Kyle Schwarber gets by with it. I mean, he is basically that exact player. I mean, he hits 200 and hits 45 home runs. So, I mean, he would frustrate the hell out of me if he was my first baseman or whatever position.
Leadoff hitter?
Now. Yeah, leadoff hitter. But he's obviously, the Phillies are bejust successful with that. So, I mean, I guess some people would say that could be Joey Votto's role, the way he hits now. I just, I think it'd be different if they didn't have these young guys that have, have something to prove and have proven a little bit. I mean, granted, C.S. is not a proven player whatsoever. I mean, he played half a season, had some success, a lot of potential there. So I'm not upset. I would not be upset if Joey Votto came back. I don't think I'd pay him the $20 million, but I'd be happy to see him come back at 13, 12, somewhere in there. And I will say, I'm totally honest on this, and it's not like I hid this before. A lot of my issue with the money for Votto is nothing to do with Votto. It has everything to do with the Reds, that I just don't trust them at all, the front office. That, if they bring Joey Votto back at $20 million, then they'll cry, well, that's our money. We've used our money to spend on any free agent. And there's a lot of more free agents I want before I want Joey Votto back. So, to help this team for this year. I'm not a big, sentimental sports person anymore. I want wins now. I'm starved of wins for the Cincinnati sports. So, if he came back at a certain price and they used him as a, 200 to 300 at bat guy to DH and play first base a little bit and could hit some home runs, that would be his, that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But is he going to be a better player than C.S. is at first over the course of the season? Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it would be, but I mean, just because C.S. is so, really unproven. But, I don't want that money to be spent and the Reds not get a bigger priority to me, which is a starting pitcher, which is potentially a power bat in the outfield or something. Obviously relief pitchers. So in the pecking order, he would be fourth or fifth for me in terms of priority. So if they do those other things and they're willing and he's willing to come back at $10 to $12 million, not
Well,
plus the
I don't.
seven.
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
seven plus the four, plus
yeah.
3 to 5
Plus
more.
3 to 5 more. Yeah,
Yeah, then
not an additional 12 because that would be
I
the
have no
20
problem with
million.
that.
So
But he can't be the free agent signing that
right.
covers the offseason.
Yep.
And because I have so little faith in Castellini and Krall and those guys in doing major league deals, not minor league deals here, um, until they prove me otherwise, then that's where my concern would be.
Yeah. As far as wanting Joey Votto back, yeah, it would be nice, sentimental to go out as a Red. 18 years and ride off in the sunset, those type of things. But listening to fans bleeding with their hearts and not their heads, saying that he deserves a farewell tour and blah 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 blah. I mean, if you listen to Joey Votto, he doesn't want any of that stuff. He just wants to go out and play baseball, and he even said in his goodbye. I don't know if you saw that video that he posted today. It was like 3.5 minutes long, and he just wanted to thank the city of Cincinnati, the fans, the ownerships, and he even said that baseball, it'll be strange if I'm going, in a different uniform. And he goes, and baseball may tell me that I'm not going to be in a different uniform. He doesn't know how free agency is going to pan out. He's a little nervous about that because he never had to worry about it. And, I think he ends up in Toronto just because Brandon Belt elected free agency and they have a first base / DH position open for Toronto right now. And that would be a homecoming for him. And I think it'd probably be a good fit. And I think people of Cincinnati and Major League Baseball would be okay with that, going back to Toronto to try for a ring. But, I think, he averaged like 205 or 204 for the last 2 years. That's not Joey Votto. And, he wants to go out on his terms. He wants to go out hopefully proving everybody that he can still hit. And the Reds just told him, it's like, look, we don't have the at bats for you that you deserve, right? And that's the thing that Nick Krall, and I don't think a lot of people, got that part of the article or the interview. And he said, looking at our structure, the money wasn't the issue. He goes, the money wasn't the issue. It's just we don't have enough at bats for Joey Votto that he deserves. And because you don't want to bring Joey Votto on your bench for 20 million and just be maybe a 1 day a week starter and a pinch hitter. And that's what the role was going to be. And, for Joey and for the Reds, that's not, you're not going to pay $20 million for that. I don't care who it is. Unless it's Otani, then you might, but because you'd get him at a discount there. I think the Reds made the business decision that needed to be made with their head and not their heart, and which is what they've done in the past in that stretch of 2000. They kept Griffey a little too long, Dunn a little too long, Brandon Phillips way too long. Even Barry Larkin, right? I mean, when Larkin was his last few years, they re-upped him. They signed him for 2 more years. I believe it was 2 or 3 more years. And he was past his prime. And it hurt our club a little bit. And, didn't get traded Chapman too late in the year. So, I'm glad that they made that business decision, but it still sucks. I mean, and you can, and I think people can be upset and sad, but they also can be like, okay, I get the decision and it's a smart decision for this young team. And because the young players need to play. That's the only way they're going to develop, or say, okay, you're not developing. We've got to find somebody else.
Yeah, it's the first of hopefully a lot of interesting questions that will have to be answered, in the next month or two, whatever. I think the India question still has to be answered. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't solve that issue. It doesn't solve, how many of these. I mean, Crawl made it, hinted that, some of the guys that were up here the last part of the year, they're not guaranteed spots, in the lineup opening day, so, they ain't going to be able to
What?
prove.
Nick Martini is not going to be our starting
Well,
right fielder?
he probably will be because his name's Nick. So, but yeah, and I know, and a lot of the comments yesterday on Twitter were related to Nick Martini. They were saying,
Yes,
well,
there was.
that Crawl will find the money for Nick Martini and a spot for him to play, but somehow they won't find a spot for Joey Votto.
Yeah,
Like,
the,
come
the
on.
big stuff that I saw was like
Yeah.
it's like they played him over Joey Votto his last two games and blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah and
Yeah.
and then it's like, well, he went 2 for 4 with 2 bombs and Votto struck out and got ejected. So he did play his last game, but he got ejected.
Yeah.
How those type of things. But go ahead.
But so yeah, so it'll be that. That's a big question coming up. What are they going to do there? Again, I mean, I think the Reds have a chance to win the offseason here with a few good free agent
Mm-hmm.
acquisitions. If Crawl really isn't lying through his teeth and says that the Votto thing had nothing to do with the financial part of it, then okay, well then that
Mm-hmm.
means in theory you were willing to give him $20 million.
Right.
That the
So we got
financially
$20 million
you
to
got 20
spend
million.
on
Who are you going to
somebody.
spend it on next? Yeah,
Yeah.
who's going to be $20 million?
We
So
got more than 20 million to
so
spend on
yeah.
people.
But
So
anyway, and then you mentioned the Votto legacy. Where would you rank Votto and best Reds player ever? Where's he on the list for you?
well, I know he's the best first baseman ever.
Well, no, best Reds player ever.
I know, but he's the best first baseman ever.
Well, you definitely clear cut over Perez.
Yeah,
Perez
definitely.
is a Hall of Famer.
Perez is a Hall of Famer. But I mean, I think
Perez
Votto
managed 40 games for the Reds.
44 to be exact. So yes, he did. Votto may come back and manage. You never know.
Player coach.
Yeah, like Pete. So he's probably top 5, definitely top 10, top 5, probably top 3, just because of longevity and.
I mean, do you put him third?
I mean, I would have. Well,
I mean,
it
for
would
me,
be. It could be
I haven't.
fourth.
The easiest one for me is number one, and then I have to go from there.
Who's your number one?
Bench.
You got bench over Rose.
Yeah. And I factored in maybe it's comparatively like when he's many people argue
Best
the
player
best
of all time. Yeah,
best catcher of all time.
right.
Pete Rose is not the best whatever utility player or outfielder or third baseman
He,
or whatever you want to
he
say.
might be the best utility player of all time because he bounced around everywhere. So
So for me, number one is bench, and then
yep.
the question is who's second. I think
Larkin.
Morgan's ceiling is number two. Like
Yeah,
when he was at his peak, he's number two. But he just didn't
back-to-back
play. He
MVPs.
didn't play.
Right.
The longevity with the Reds, I think, would be what hurts Morgan.
Right.
That's where Rose might edge him out just because he played so much longer with the Reds
Larkin.
and Votto, and potentially Votto and Larkin. And I mean, there's probably your top 5 right there: Morgan, Bench, Larkin, Rose, and Votto. So, who of those 4 other guys does Votto beat out for you? That's a tough question.
Yeah, I mean that is a very tough question. In the prop, the one ding on Votto, and he didn't bring a championship here to Cincinnati, right? All those other guys have a championship, and I know it's a team game.
Yeah, and we do, and I ding him for that too in my mind. But also
Right.
when I step back from it, I'm like, well, that's not his fault. I mean, he had nothing around him.
No, it's not his fault. But
I'm sure if Votto's playing in 1976 as the Reds' first baseman instead of Perez, I think they're still winning the World Series. So
yeah, they probably are. Well, I don't know. I mean, is he Mr. Clutch like Big Doggy was?
You said he's better.
He's better. I mean, and I think he is because I think I did see a stat that said, like 2 out hits with runners in scoring position. Votto actually has more 2 out RBIs than Tony Perez. But, in those key situations, if runner on second in the playoff game, is Votto going to deliver? They got no hit, for crying out loud, in a playoff game. So, and he was in his prime. So I don't know if, I don't know. I don't know. I think, it probably, I do agree with Bench, but I think Rose is up there just because of his totality in baseball. If we're just talking about his, and even just for the Reds.
I'm only concerned the time with the Reds.
Right. But he, rookie of the year, MVPs. So, Morgan was my favorite player. So, I love little Joe. But
and Morgan won 2 MVPs, right?
2 back-to-back, 75, 76. Yeah, he was the engine.
Larkin won 1.
Larkin won 1.
Votto won 1.
Yep.
Rose won. Did Rose win an MVP?
Yeah, Rose. I think he's won 2 MVPs, or at least 1. I know that. I'll do a quick search. Pete Rose.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to a little bit of the stats. It's almost like kind of an analytics versus.
Yeah.
73.
Rose won the MVP. 73. He was MVP. He finished second once, but he does have the Rookie of the Year. 15 but
1 MVP.
All-Stars.
And Bench has 1 MVP. How many did Bench have? 1?
Bench, I think, has 2. Bench has 2.
Yeah.
I think Bench had 1970 and 72.
So what I was saying is I think the Votto discussion in this top 5 is it's kind of like analytics versus old school baseball. What right. I'm saying? If you're more of if you lean on the analytics harder, I think you put Votto higher. Right. If you lean on the old school more, Morgan's higher, lower. Larkin's higher. I don't know about Rose. Rose and Votto might be kind of similar in that. I don't know. Rose was an on-base guy. He wasn't. But now Votto hit more home runs than Rose did, though, too. Right. So, quite a bit more. So, but I think it's a little bit of, bit of that.
But Rose has just a little bitty more amount of hits than Votto. Just a little bit.
But that's also longevity, too. And not all of that was for the Reds.
Right. But he did have 3,000 hits.
Does Votto rank second for the Reds as a Red with hits? Or is that still Larkin or somebody?
Let me see here. I think. Where's it at here?
Yeah, us looking up stuff is not great for listeners.
No, it's not great. Sorry. But yeah, we should know this. All-time franchise history. Here we go.
Larkin has 2340.
2340. So let's see. Rose with the Reds.
Or is it 35 something?
3358.
Yeah, 3358. Larkin.
Yeah.
Votto, I have only fifth, 2135.
2135. Yeah.
And Concepcion. So, I would not have guessed that.
Well, Concepcion played 19 years for him?
Yeah, but
18 years.
Votto played 17 years, didn't he?
Yeah. But
Concepcion played in 400 more games, so he must not have been hurt, whereas Votto was hurt quite a bit.
Right. I think, Votto was hurt. He played there was 3 years where he had under 60 games.
Concepcion had 1,500 more at bats. Than Votto.
So yeah, Concepcion wasn't a 300 hitter, so, but yeah. So that's 200 some more hits out of those many at bats. 300 more hits, whatever it is. But yeah, so I think Votto, definitely Reds Hall of Famer.
Well, yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
I mean, that's easy.
Number retired or not?
Well, the 5 we're talking about are all their numbers. I mean, obviously Rose isn't, but
Right.
could.
Well, Rose's, yeah.
Is 14 retired?
I don't. Probably not. I probably.
Were they able to retire? I don't remember.
Yeah,
I should know
I
that.
don't.
Were they able? Are they allowed to retire it?
Well, let me see. Retired numbers. Yeah. Well, 14 is retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously benches, Rose is, Morgan is, right?
Morgan is, Concepcion's is, Larkin's.
Larkin is 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I say yes, Votto's number is retired.
Frank Robinson's number is retired. Tony Perez's number is retired.
Yeah.
Big Clues is retired. So yeah, I think. I mean, they won't. They'll wait till a few years until he makes the Reds Hall of Fame. I think before they retire his number.
Yeah.
But
I think his number should be retired. Easy walk into the Reds Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
No doubt there. I mean, freaking, what's his name? Just got in.
Bronson Arroyo.
No, Danny Gray just got in.
Danny Gray. So. Hey, he's the all-time saves leader for the Reds.
He flips the Reds fans off when he walks off the field. So, yeah. If Danny Grays makes the Reds Hall of Fame, then Shotzi should make the Reds Hall of Fame.
She might. You never know.
So. But anyway, those are easy. The question is, where is he fit? That's where we need the fans to chime in on. Where does he fit top 5 for the Reds?
Top 5.
If we agree bench is number 1, then who is 2, 3, 4, 5? And then we've said who we think our top 5 are.
Right.
And then the other question would be, does he make the Baseball Hall of Fame? And I know you're a yes. I'm borderline. Back a year ago when we had this conversation, I think I said no.
Yeah, I think you said no. Fire, so. I think I said he was a surefire Hall of Famer if he batted 300. Like if he ended up with a 300 career average, and he did not. So I think he gets in just because, the Hall of Fame is getting soft.
Yeah, it's really the Hall of Very Good.
Right. And so I think he will probably make it. So based upon his lots going to be too based upon his peers who's retiring the same time he is and stuff. Because I mean, then who were the first basemen during that time frame, right? And how many of them are in, and who's coming in, right? Like Paul Goldschmidt, when he retires, how many years behind Votto will he be? So, Miggy. Miggy's a surefire Hall of Famer, but
I don't think I would rather have Joey Votto than Paul Goldschmidt for a career.
Yeah, I would too. But I'm just saying, you got to look at the contemporaries out there and what's happening, with that, and that's how voters think sometimes with splitting the votes.
And the Cardinals get a benefit of the doubt,
right. So, but that might have to be a poll question. So, those of you that are listening and watching live,
send us your top 5 rank. And if you disagree, I mean, maybe somebody has Frank Robinson in there, maybe somebody has Tony Perez, maybe something as your top 5. I would agree I think you and I are in agreement though, that's our top 5. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also, like Frank Robinson might be in there if you take the totality, but I think we just have to look at with the Reds.
He would be in there.